Hi, I'm Bob, and I'm an alcoholic. More specifically, I'm Bob Reese, and I'm a professor of psychology, and I've been in recovery since 1991. I'm also on the research team of the International Quit and Recovery Registry. It's better known as the IQRR. You can see my recovery story near the bottom of the homepage of the IQRR website at quitandrecovery.org or on my personal website, drbobreese.com. My research interests are focused on the positive psychology elements of recovery. In other words, how to help others thrive in recovery. With that in mind, I've recreated some recovery tools videos that have been modified from the topics that I teach in my online psychology courses and that I have outlined in my book, The 13th Step, Thriving in Recovery. Enjoy. Self-talk is just those conversations we have with ourselves. We can actually have written self-talk, but any conversation you have with yourself, when you give it sanction, when you say, I am whatever, that goes towards building a self-image. Repetitive sanctions, repetitive saying, I am, builds into our attitudes. I am a good person. I am smart. Strong enough or repeated often enough, they become our beliefs. So I'm going to discuss the self-talk cycle, and that is our self-talk determines our self-image. Our self-image, in turn, determines our behavior or our performance. Athletes look at it as performance. Self-talk is a big, big thing in sports psychology. And it's a feedback loop. My self-talk creates my self-image, which in turn determines my behavior, which reinforces my self-talk in that area. So what is self-image? It's just simply our opinions of ourselves, our stored beliefs. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of self-images. You have a self-image about how you are as a man, as a woman, as a father, as a brother, as an aunt, as a mother, as a student, as a professional, whatever it is that you do. You have thousands of self-images. You have a self-image of how you grill a hamburger, how you wash the dishes. You have self-images of all of those things. And to change a behavior, we have to change our self-image. Okay? And you change your self-image by controlling your self-talk or changing your self-talk. Now remember that self-image also includes self-worth and self-esteem. So I like to use the example of the clumsy child when we talk about our self-talk determining self-image, which determines our behavior. If you have a young kid, say 3 or 4 years old, and he comes into the room and just kind of trips on the rug, Dad may say, boy, he sure is clumsy. That night at dinner, he knocks over his milk, and Mom says, gosh, this kid is clumsy. Now, this kid, if he hears that often enough, over and over again, he may not be any more clumsy than any other child. But if he hears this constantly that he's clumsy, he will move toward and become what he thinks. He thinks of himself as clumsy, so he will begin to act clumsy. Okay, as that happens, then that gets reinforced when he's in school and his friends say, "Oh, here's clumsy Clem. Watch out for him. He's clumsy." He grows up with that, and he goes to his first dance, and he sees a girl he'd like to meet across the room, so he gets her a nice glass of punch and walks across the room. And sure enough, right before he gets to her, he stumbles and spills it all over her pretty dress, and everybody says, "Oh, Clem, you are so clumsy. And it just gets imprinted and imprinted. So you move toward become like what you think. In this case, a clumsy child. Now, you are not, can Clem change that? Can he become unclumsy? Of course he can. But he has to change how he thinks before he can do it. Now, to give another example of how powerful our self-talk can be, I want you to watch in the next slide a clip from my favorite movie, What the Bleep Do We Know? And it's about the hidden messages in water.
Subway exhibit comes to us from Japan and Mr. Masuro Emoto. Mr. Emoto became terribly interested in the molecular structure of water and what affects it. Now, water is the most receptive of the 4 elements. Mr. Emoto thought perhaps it would respond to non-physical events. So he set up a series of studies, applied mental stimuli, and photographed it with a dark field microscope. This first picture is a picture of water from the Fujiwara Dam. And this picture is the same water after receiving a blessing from a Zen Buddhist monk. Now, in this next series of pictures, Mr. Emoto printed out words, taped them to bottles of distilled water, and left them out overnight. This first photograph is a picture of the pure distilled water, just the essence of itself. These subsequent photographs, as you can see, are each different. This is the chi of love. And we move along here to thank you. And you can see where he taped that to this bottle here. But if you read Japanese, you already knew that. Now, Mr. Emoto speaks of the thought or intent being the driving force in all of this. The science of how that actually affects the molecules is unknown, except to the water molecules, of course. And it's really fascinating when you keep in mind that 90% of our bodies are water.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? If thoughts can do that to water, imagine what our thoughts can do to us.
So, as the guy said at the end of that clip, if words can do this to water, what do they do to us, since we're 98% water? The important thing to get across here is that negative self-talk can have an impact too. And negative self-talk includes sarcasm, belittling, putting people down, ranking people. So you've got to clear that from your languaging. The next little movie clip is a clip from an interview with Bradley Wiggins, who this was in 2009 on the Tour de France. But I just want you to listen to his self-talk. Athletes consistently practice positive self-talk.
I don't know what to say, you know. I just do what I do, and it worked, yeah. I don't know what to say, mate.
Did you surprise yourself when the first initial attack went and you were able to go and then go again and attack that group? Was that something you'd planned?
Look, you just got to ask yourself all the time, you know. If it's hurting you, God knows what it's doing to the others. I know I'm in great shape. I just keep thinking that in my head, you know. If I'm hurting, I know everyone else is. So I just kept that in my head, and I knew eventually it'll pay off. So
After a performance like today, does that give you new confidence to do something very special by the end of Paris here?
I just keep going, you know, day by day. I keep saying day by day, but just keep going. I never think too far ahead, and everyone keeps talking to me about what's ahead, what's ahead. That doesn't help my concentration. I just go day by day. I've trained for this mentally as well as physically, and I go day by day. That's what we do. Whatever we do, we go day by day. How can you think 3 days ahead when you've got 2 days before that? That's how you crack, that's how you cock things up, so day by day.
Thanks, Bradley.
So Bradley says day by day, okay, which is essentially what we say when we say one day at a time, day by day. I'm just going to do it day by day. So how do you get your self-talk in line? Well, first you have to become aware of it, okay? So the way to do that is to get a rubber band, put it around your wrist. It can be an awareness bracelet or a hair scrunchie, but the idea is to have something that you can actually snap on your wrist. And anytime in this first 24 to 48 hours, anytime you say anything negative, and that includes that sarcasm, put downs, anything negative about anybody, and especially yourself, you snap the rubber band and you say, stop it. So you do that for a day or two to become aware of your self-talk. Then plan on wearing the rubber band for a month, sometimes two, and every time you catch yourself saying something negative about being in recovery or about your sobriety, you snap the rubber band. You say, at least to yourself, you can say it out loud, stop it. That's not like me anymore. And you replace it with a positive statement. I am strong. I am sober. I am in charge of my life. I can handle this. Whatever you decide you want it to be. But you definitely want it to be positive, and you want it to be present. I'll talk more about it being present in a moment. So here's some examples of negative self-talk, okay? And, we talk about this all the time in recovery when we talk about pity parties and so forth. So anything that's negative that impacts your sobriety or your recovery, snap that rubber band. And one of the keys I mentioned I would talk to you about keeping it in the present. If you've got to speak to yourself. Your self-talk has got to be as if it's done already, or that you do it constantly, not in the future. And it's not I will be sober. I am sober. It's not I will be okay, or I'm going to try. Trying is not allowed. Okay, trying means you're putting something off. You haven't quite done it. And as my mentor Yoda says,
no, try not. Do or do not. There is no try.
So here's some suggestions for some of your positive self-talk. Now, I know one of them's a little strong, but sometimes we need that. And if that's the way you feel, don't be afraid to say it, okay? But day by day, you're getting better and better. At the beginning of this program, I asked the question, did you ever wonder about why you introduced yourself by saying, hi, my name is Bob, and I'm an alcoholic, or I'm an addict? And I said the reason was self-talk. And it is, because when you when you identify yourself as an alcoholic, or an addict, or whatever it may be, then you have a choice about what to do. I know for me and for everybody in recovery that I've talked to in addiction for any length of time, there came a point where you didn't feel you had a choice. And so the choice becomes, once you admit that you're an alcoholic or an addict, then you can either drink or not drink. You can drug or not drug. But as an alcoholic, the drinking will eventually kill you. So, as Wayne Dyer says, who's a motivational guru who's also a recovering alcoholic, you can't always control what goes on outside, but you can control what goes on inside. So pay attention to your self-talk. That concludes the Recovery Tools video on self-talk. Self-talk and its importance is described in depth in my books, Develop the Winner's Mentality and the 13th Step, Thriving in Recovery. Both are available on Amazon, and the Kindle copies or the e-copies are very inexpensive. There is a series of recovery tool videos posted on the IQRR website. Please let us know if you find them helpful. Also, please stay active in the IQRR website and take the monthly assessments. That allows you to become a recovery hero by helping us to help others.